Airbnbs. When staying there, we've learned a thing or two. You'll help avoid mistakes we made with these, our tips for you. Stay tuned. Welcome back to my travel window. Our goal on this channel is to help you maximize your time, money, and adventure quotient while traveling. Today our topic is tips about Airbnbs. In our last episode we gave you 5 reasons why you might want to pick an Airbnb. Today we'd like to tell you things to look for and give you the benefit of our experience at various Airbnbs and mistakes that we've made and things that we've learned along the process. In all, we've stayed at 12 different Airbnbs in 5 different countries, most of them since the start of the pandemic. So the information that you have here will be current to 2022. We don't regret staying in any of the Airbnbs, although we had surprises along the way which have sharpened our selection process going forward. This video is designed to help you decide if this option is good for you and to help you avoid the pitfalls that we've uncovered. Let's dive in. As we work through each of these tips, I'm going to illustrate using the Airbnb website. Issue 1. Decide if you want to share space. We encountered this issue with our very first Airbnb stay, which was in London. The person we booked from owned a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. So while we had our own private bedroom and bathroom and a neat location as you see here, we shared the living room, kitchen, and balcony with our hostess. This is somewhat like temporarily visiting relatives you've never met before. Our host had emigrated from somewhere in or near Pakistan and had religious figures around the house which were unfamiliar to us. Early on, I made the mistake of placing a milk carton on a particular spot on the kitchen counter. The host quickly informed me I had unknowingly violated religious space. The, quote, "please don't set your milk on my altar," unquote, was uncomfortable for us both. Later, she invited her fiancé over for an evening. We felt out of place being with them in a small living room on what was clearly a date night. So we excused ourselves and we wound up spending the evening in a tiny bedroom that had no window and no TV. In another early exchange, we were in a room in a multi-story house in Toronto. This time, in addition to sharing a kitchen and living area, we also shared a bathroom. Afterwards, we decided that at our age, we're done with dorm-type settings, so we don't do this anymore. Fortunately, none of our other Airbnb rentals are like this, and most are not. There's a filter option called Entire Place, which we now use exclusively so that we don't ever do this again. We would encourage you to use it. Issue 2. Temper expectations. In addition to sharing a bathroom, our Toronto lodging had another surprise. When we walked into our bedroom, we discovered there were only 2 things in the entire room: a set of cheap blinds for the window and a bed. No desks, pictures, chairs, table, or lamps. Not even a headboard. It was literally like walking into a vacant college dorm room. What we realized was that we had seen pictures of the rest of the house and the bathroom and made assumptions that the bedroom overall was similar. On a different level, in the summer of 2021, we chose to stay in a 1,000-year-old castle on Lake Garda in Italy. You see some of the pictures here. We saw accurate pictures of the interior, assumed that the apartment we were renting was the same age as the exterior. In fact, the interior of the castle had been gutted, replaced with modern apartments in the center, and also in new buildings attached to the inside of the ancient walls. Interior decor was made to look old, but was new. It's kind of like having a Model T exterior with all modern components under the hood. Once I adjusted to the reality, I actually appreciated it. All the modern comforts wrapped in ancient stone. The good thing is that Airbnbs are not cookie cutter, and everything will not always be as expected. If you accept that going in, you'll do well. Issue 3. Remember that you're selecting more than just a room. In 2019, we began booking what we call the trip of a lifetime, which we had set to begin in early 2020. Little did we know that COVID also had plans for early 2020. We spent hundreds of hours in research on this trip and had booked an incredible 13 different Airbnb locations. When Europe suddenly and unexpectedly closed, we had to cancel all 13 reservations individually, most of which we had already prepaid half of the amount due. Amazingly, we did not lose any money in this process. Every renter agreed to refund their portion very quickly, and the Airbnb company stepped up and waived all cancellation penalties and returned all of their portion. One of the reasons that things work so well is because we have learned to deal with superhosts whenever possible. These are the top-rated and most experienced hosts within the Airbnb system. We only work with superhosts unless none are available in an area. You'll be glad you did. Again, this is an option that you can pick. Issue 4. Pay attention to reviews. In addition to picking superhosts, one of the reasons we've had so much success after our initial stays with Airbnb is because we look at reviews. First, we pick places that have high ratings, generally 4.8 out of 5 or better. We then read as many of the reviews as we can. After looking at so many, we have a few key things we look for: cleanliness, bed quality, and noise. These are things that will not show up in the pictures, but jump out in the reviews. Issue 5. Compare the final price, not just the nightly rate. Let me illustrate what I mean. If you look at these two examples, these are for a 4-night stay in June in Paris. You see we have two different rooms here, a typical lovely Parisian flat and a studio with a rooftop. On the surface, if you look at the bold print, it looks like the rooftop is cheaper. But when you look at the total price, you discover that the rooftop is actually $50 more. If you click on the detail here, you'll see why that is. This one is $100 in cleaning and service fees. This one is $174. Makes a big difference. You should also look at the discounts for weekly rates because they're often 10 to 20%. Issue 6. Location, location, location. There are a dozen good reasons to pick an Airbnb, but for me this might be the most important. The problem is determining what is the best location. The more you know about a place you're visiting, the better off you are in choosing a quality Airbnb. We look for a few key things. Are the places we want to see within walking distance? And how close are you to public transit to get to the places we can't reach on foot? Particularly if we're staying for several days, we want walking distance to grocery stores. If these are unclear, don't be afraid to reach out to the host before you book to clarify. Issue 7. Always check cancellation policy. Look at these two examples of cancellation policy to see how varied these can be. The differences can make this a huge issue. In the recent era of uncertainty, and after once canceling 13 reservations, this has become a larger factor for us. Again, this is something that you can filter on in the beginning as shown here. Bonus points. In Europe, the first floor is generally one up from the ground floor. Balconies are not uncommon. As a nice plus, these can be the deciding factor for us. Look through the amenities section. Often pleasant surprises, but sometimes things not there that you would expect, like shampoo or toilet paper. We look for ones that don't allow smoking or pets, as this sometimes bothers us. After finding a couple of quirky things, we always scan through the house rules, which are posted to make sure there are not any big surprises. Next, check for details about parking if you have a car. Our experience is that cars are twice the trouble and half the benefit in Europe. And don't take for granted there's parking provided. Finally, we always communicate with the hosts a day or two ahead of arrival to confirm all the check-in arrangements. If you deal with superhosts, they will expect this and will likely be reaching out to you. So, to summarize my advice in a few quick tips. 1. Filter for the entire place. 2. Plan for variety. 3. Prefer superhosts. 4. Look at ratings and reviews. 5. Compare on final price, not daily rate. 6. Plan location around sites and transportation. 7. Filter on cancellation policy. And 8. Spend at least a few minutes on the fine print. Hopefully this helps you decide what to do with Airbnbs. If, like us, you decide that these are a great option, we look forward to seeing your experience and having you comment on it. Thanks. Until next time, happy travels.